Hi everyone, Dan here, Chief Marketing Officer at Tanda. I'm joined with someone who doesn't really need an introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. Tech entrepreneur, investor, shark, I believe you're referred to quite a lot, and also mentor to a lot of businesses and startups in Australia. Steve Baxter, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Dan. How old are you, mate?
I'm 28.
Chief Marketing Officer, 28. That's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fun. It's a nice little title, but I guess here in Australia we're pretty humble about it, so we'll just say work in marketing.
Beautiful.
But for these sort of things, I've got to drop it in. Anyway, we're here today, if you've seen any of our other videos so far, to talk to some of the speakers at the Workforce Success Conference that we're hosting on July 26th up here in Brisbane at the Hilton. It's going to be an amazing day, and we just want to jump into some of the topics that our speakers will be talking about and try and get a bit more understanding about the different things that are affecting workforces around Australia. Now, today I'll be talking to Steve about employment, specifically in the startup space, attracting the right talent, and also some of the challenges that face businesses, and I guess the startup environment in any case. So I guess we'll jump in. Let's start at the beginning. It's a good place to start. What excites you, or does anything excite you about the startup space in Australia?
Well, there's lots to be excited about. It's full of typically young, very technically talented people trying to solve big problems. And that's the ones that we like working with anyway.
Yeah.
So what's not to like about that? I incentivise my staff, and I suppose an investment business is a very boring business. You basically write a lot of checks to pay all expenses for 5 years, and every 5 years you get to sell something. And hopefully that adds up to be more than what you've actually spent over the previous 5 years.
Gotcha.
But there can be a long time between drinks. So, we, I suppose, incentivise ourselves, and we steel ourselves to the task by knowing that we're backing people out to change the world. So there's a lot of, and we meet some crazies, and crazies in a beautifully pleasant way, and some crazies in actually a crazy way too, now I think about it.
I mean, Apple had a big campaign about choosing the crazy ones, right? So.
Yeah, but there's chainsaw moving crazy, and there's commercially crazy. They are two different things, right? Yeah. And you do come across both of them. So we're getting a lot better at it. We see a lot of deals. We've got an amazing amount of very high quality deal flow at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's a good time.
And I know obviously a majority of startups. I think a recent report had said it was Sydney, Melbourne. Brisbane is flourishing at the moment. I think it's still growing. It's emerging. Can you, I guess, relate to anything? Do you know why, I guess, Brisbane is a space that's starting to attract more and more?
Well, I think, a rising tide lifts all boats, so there's an element of it's getting popular, therefore lots more are doing it. There's a lot more freely available information out there. The traditional gatekeepers, thankfully, have been kicked out of that role, that being the universities and the stupid business professors and people like that.
Yeah.
So we're thankfully seeing a different way to do things. The cost, I suppose, the cost to enter, the cost to start a tech startup's a lot less. Even 12 years ago, you would have needed hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of IT.
Yeah, right.
Whereas nowadays you do it with tens of dollars a month in Dropbox accounts and Office 365 and other bits and pieces. So the burden to actually start a business is remarkably low, which is fantastic. It's also really bad for us here in Australia. So we used to be able to get access to the capital in Australia to do that.
Right.
The poor, very young, highly technical person in the favela in South America or the slum in Bangladesh couldn't get access to that. Now they can.
Gotcha.
So it's actually lowered the bar to entry for all people, not just us.
Right.
And it's a global world, and so therefore we have to move fast. We have to think big. We have to be willing to get out there and attack big chunky worldwide problems, and the rest of the world is.
It's an interesting point you raised at the beginning there about the barriers to entry and how now they've sort of dropped as far as cost to start up. You can run on a bootstrap. But what we hear today is obviously talk about employees finding the right talent. Now, workforce is probably a pretty big cost to a business. With startups, when should they be thinking about workforce management or thinking about their workforce in general?
Probably from the moment it's appropriate, that's a really silly answer, isn't it?
That's understandable.
Yeah, but it comes down to, a lot of people get too bent out of shape about systems too early. Okay. I did a talk the other day at the pharmaceutical convention where Tanda had a stand there. I met the team there, it was good. And I spoke a lot about how I created my first systems, because there's a lot of software, a big one that you can buy out there that's supposedly going to save you this or make you that or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But until you know I think until you know you quantify the problem you've got, you probably should keep clear of software or go with a very incredibly light software solution to start with. I always encourage people that, businesses typically, or still in the majority of instances, start in one room.
Yeah.
A bunch of people get together, one person starts and he needs to apply a second person, that person sits next to them and they're usually in one room. So yeah, if you have to manage workflow, you can literally pass a piece of paper around. That's not scalable, but you get to understand who needs what information, when and how.
Yeah.
So, even mocking up a system with paper, passing it between to understand what you need, is A, might tide you over for the first 3 or 6 months, which would be great, and B, I think it's a really valuable way to understand the scope of the problem. So that's a good way to start, and then understand, okay, so what parts of this can I replace with software to make it really easy?
Gotcha.
So don't jump with both feet through the window, so to speak, into some solution.
And I guess when it is just 1 or 2 people in a room, you're not particularly too worried about the systems.
No. In nowadays, the reason I say that nowadays is you can have, I've known several businesses with 4 or 5 billion of them distributed around the world, and they're actually met face to face, which is sort of fantastic, right? So, but I know in corporate business and corporate history, corporate news is replete with stories of the tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and billions of dollars that have been burned on stupid IT projects. Yeah. So even smart people can screw this up. So I suppose my point is to do it appropriately, do it at the right time, do it once you fully understand the scope of the problem.
Sweet. That's an interesting point. I want to dig a bit deeper. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back shortly. Just have something to show the audience. Welcome back. I'm here with Steve Baxter. He hasn't left, which is fantastic. But what I wanted to dive into was, we were talking just before about workforce management, how as startups you might have a couple of people in the room. Generally, as a business grows, the founders are pretty close to the business, and they're generally, a lot of the people who come in early are taking on multiple roles and working across, different jobs and different roles in the business. So my question is that a good thing, or should they start looking to find other people to take on specialist roles in a business early on? Or, is there a prescriptive answer?
No, not really. No, I would say you do what makes sense and you can afford. So the problem with a lot of startups is that there's a cash constraint. Yeah. So you hear a lot of stuff that you think makes a lot of sense when it comes to employing people in startups. Like, don't employ that person unless they're the best person in the world. No, that's crap, right? You can actually, they're very hard. The best person in the world is very hard to find, right? Yeah. So, and so you be careful. You need to get the quality you can afford. And if you can afford it, if situations dictate that you get less quality, you need systems to manage those people, right? Yeah. So there's an awesome author, a guy called Michael Gerber, has a book called The E-Myth, and he talks about the concept of rocket scientists. They're hard to find, and when you find them, they're expensive. And so you hire for is fit for the job, and who you can support with documentation, details, manuals, process, procedure. Yeah. So and that's the best thing. It's literally the best thing for the business. So which doesn't mean you have to employ dunces, or it doesn't mean you employ dunces or you employ rocket scientists. For this level of automation I'm willing to pay for, it needs this level of person. Therefore, that's what we can settle for. And so it's an important thing to understand exactly what you need and then what systems you can throw at it. In both my businesses, we were heavily reliant on manuals, so our electronic manuals. So you hit print Word documents essentially, version control Word documents. We eventually moved on to wikis and bits and pieces. They started as documents, and that was the procedures to do every task inside the business. And if anyone actually operated outside the procedures, they were warned for dismissal. Right. But they had full authority to change the menu. Right. So if it's wrong, for God's sake, just don't do it. Don't freewheel it. Yeah. Change it, because you've got to go on holidays. I hate the term. If you fall under a bus, get hit by a bus, it's a dreadful term.
Now, when someone enters a business, we sort of expect that their life in the business, it's identified as about 2 to 4 years, and we try and get them to achieve something within that 4 years, and then at the end of, about midway, about 2 years and 4 years, we start looking at whether they're going to stay on board. They look internally at Reflect, and the business obviously sees if they've moved the needle. So this is a long question, but my question is about this tour of duty, sorry, do you think it's the right way to go about things?
I understand the concept of it. I don't know if I agree with it. I don't know if I disagree with it either.
Yeah.
So I had a really interesting conversation. One you found in this meeting too, I want to say. We were meeting with as a part of the startup working group, we were meeting with the opposition at the time, the state opposition, and trying to get them briefed up on all the stuff that was happening, and in some respects hoping they would be briefed so they wouldn't interfere with it. And you had Tim Nicol, Deb Treffington, who I used to think she was treasurer deputy at the time. I really rated her. She's good. She's another strange person. Anyway, and Tim Nicol was remonstrating about how these jobs, the jobs in the startup business, he doesn't like them because they're so fleeting and they're the gig and all the rest of it. I mean, a young couple there, who's working still is working at Red Eye, with Wayne Girard. And he put his hand up and said, "You're talking about me. I don't want a job that goes for more than 2 years. I want the freedom to move on.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to be nailed down." So it wasn't so much of a contract, it was an expectation. I think it's an expectation of a certain age group.
Gotcha.
And maybe that's an option that's available and ready to tap to them.
Yes.
So,
do you think that then...
but until you sent me through the stuff on TrueReview, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Do you think that's to the mutual benefit of the employer and the employee though, because they both know that they've got a certain period of time that they're expecting to be working?
Well, he was also very capable chap, right? So he had an IT background, some form of developer or an engineer or something, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so I would say his attitude was more mercenary.
Right.
Than anything else, if you know what I mean. And he had that ability to move from project to project, and so he saw that as a distinct advantage.
Gotcha.
But I mean, the world isn't all developers, right?
Yeah.
And so the world is also people. Remember, we're talking about people here. They're not pieces of timber you can push around a chessboard, right?
Yeah.
Because A, they won't be pushed around because they'll do their own thing regardless of how much you push them. And B, they're people. So you've got to take that into account. There is still an expectation in Australia that there will be, if you have a full-time job, there is some expectation of it for the long term. I don't think there's. I think it'd be a horrible thing to. It'd be horrible. Let me think about it. But I think it'd be very strange, given the Australian experience, that people would expect that. It's sort of they're going to move on after 2 or 4 years.
Yeah. Right.
You couldn't write that in a contract. You couldn't even mention that out loud if you were being sued.
Yeah.
So I think be a bit careful there. I mean, that's a fad type thing. It's a bit like Google's 20% time. That never existed. That went away. All these maniac organisations doing unlimited.
I think a lot of that is posturing and definitely marketing, right? Some of that's like 2080, whatever it was. Just like, we have, when people say we have ping pong tables, here are our fringe benefits, or Netflix saying we give people unlimited holidays.
Well, you be careful, because some of those companies do that. If you work with Google, because I have, let me tell you that they were a bit like that, right? So they worked out 20% off was a piece of crap in the end.
Yeah.
But But my problem with that is that, sure, when you've got $14 billion a quarter of free cash flow, you can do what the hell you want as well.
Yeah.
I mean, these are massive companies who have got that much velocity that Google, their patent protected position is just currently unassailable. Nothing's forever unassailable.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure, when you get that big, you can do that too. But they ruin the business practice around working without that cash flow.
Yeah.
So you be very, very careful about that. Which Kool-Aid you drink from.
Gotcha. Welcome back. Still here with Steve Baxter. Coming towards the end of things, but we were discussing how companies need to maybe change their mindset and also the narrative perhaps and the way they present themselves to veterans or experienced workers and sell them on a narrative of why they should move from their, maybe not always, but their comfortable jobs to the crazy, scary startup world that people like to paint a picture of. What are the pitfalls of moving to just in plain and simple, what are pitfalls to move to a startup?
I'll assume it's a funded startup that can actually pay the bills.
Yeah.
Right, because a lot of them aren't. One of the pitfalls is maybe they fail to actually get the market traction they need.
Let's assume they're going all right.
And there's uncertainty.
Yeah.
So otherwise, the pitfalls of a startup. I like startups, so I don't think about pitfalls. A high growth can sometimes be a pitfall in itself, right? That creates a lot of uncertainty. There's always a lot of there's a lot of trial and error, probably more error and trial.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So it does require some flexibility. It does require some freedom of thinking. and some people aren't geared for that, to be honest.
Well-
and then honestly, typically, the older you are, the less, and I'm old, the older you are, the less geared you are for it.
I guess I'm speaking a little bit from experience in like having been to businesses where they were growing or they had created a new position. Particularly several years ago, worked for a company where they had never had a national marketing department before, right? So suddenly it was essentially, hey, we realised we need this, and then I'd come on board. They said, oh, we need a marketer, but they weren't quite sure exactly what they needed. Well, they sounded confident when I went and worked for them, and it was sort of building out that role. Now I learned a lot from that and it was beneficial to me because I was able to start taking responsibility for things that perhaps if they were written down in black and white, it might have gone to someone else or wouldn't been across it. So I guess that's where the question comes from, because I see a lot of startups where you get to make your own, you do see it in job ads for a lot of startups in Britain where it's like, make your own day, we give you the flexibility to, not even a freedom within a framework because there's no framework. It wasn't a lot of questions.
I think that there's good management practices and there's bad management practices.
Yeah.
And I think some of the things you're telling me I would put in the category of bad management practices, or at least not good management practices anyway. But,
well, then it's something for, I think, people to definitely think about. Like, just take away in general that they should probably think about their management policy as well. We were talking with Amanda Lutby earlier in the week, and I talked with Mark Ellis last week as well about culture by design. I think this comes down a little bit to culture because it's sort of ingrained within the policies that founders and small businesses start at the beginning. So yeah, I guess answered my question a little bit there.
Maybe. Yeah. I'm just.
Thank you for being a soundboard.
No, you're right.
I appreciate it.
I consider myself boarded or sounded. It's all good.
Brilliant. And then, can you tell me the difference between some of the challenges or failures you had when starting businesses back in the 90s versus now? What's the major differences that you see in the
Well, it's easier now.
Yeah.
I mean, we mentioned capital before. It's easier on capital. It's easier on software. We had to write all our own software.
Yeah.
We wrote these things that I now know as CRMs. We built our own. We call it help desk manager. We call it user manager. We call it project managers. Same code base, it's a different ticketing / tracking system essentially. User management systems. Build our own content management systems. We had to build. We had 6 programmers on the staff of 65 who are basically serviced a retail customer base of 35,000 people.
Yeah.
And probably 40% of 40 of those 60 people would have been retail sales staff.
Right.
So it's big, right?
Yeah.
So it's just easy now. The stuff's out there. It's cheaper. There's a lot of well-worn experience that you can access. As compared to today, so what else is different, I suppose? Capital is easy to come by if you need it. Banks are just as, absent, you might say. So that hasn't really changed. I think the community attitude's a lot better. It's sort of less, oh my God, what are you doing? If you know what I mean, oh wow, cool, I hope that works. So that's always a good start. There's been positive changes to the Corporations Act that actually they take our system more towards Chapter 11, so if the business does get in trouble, you have safe harbors and you have all sorts of directors' protections and other bits and pieces. The idea to be able to get that, if the business does fail, you can tell the people who oversaw that failure, to be quite honest, and provided they get down and they clean it up neatly, get them back into the game faster because they've just learnt a lot, and that's the thing they need to do. So there's been lots of changes along the way.
Sweet. Well, I think that sort of wraps up some of the questions I had for you today. If you'd like to hear it more, please join us at the Workforce Success Conference on July 26th.
So it's here in Brisbane. I thought it was down in Gold Coast.
No. So last year on the Gold Coast. This year we want to keep it, in our hometown and near the office. Good. We can walk to it, which is good. And it'll be bigger as well. So we're expecting about 500 people. So it'll be more than double the size of last year. So I'm very excited. We'll be hearing obviously more from yourself, which will be great. Speakers like Amanda Lutby, you would have seen on some of the other webinars, Mikey Ellis, Gary Mortimer, and a whole raft of other great speakers. Please, if you've got any questions, just jump onto the Facebook page or tweet us at TenderHQ. I've been Dan, it's been Steve.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in July.